Okay, here we are. And
Okay,
I did.
Okay, and we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have an incredible guest with us, one who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the incredible educator and soldier in the Nation of Islam, Sister Audra. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you tonight, Brother Joshua?
I'm doing phenomenal, ma'am. I have to say that
Inshallah.
it's a long time coming. That I was waiting to get to you, and then I saw you at Savior's Day, and I was like, oh, boom! I'm just gonna ask right now. We got Sister Audra like then, and of course my sister Mimi and Sister Naima both send the greetings to you.
Alaikum.
Yes, ma'am. Now, for those who don't know, when you watch me and my siblings grow up in Chicago,
Yes.
through the lens of, I guess, an educator, and I grew up watching you not speaking in grown folks' business, always being like, Sister Audra's come in, Sister Renee, Sister Mary, Brother Abdul, all of the teachers at MUI. I didn't speak to y'all until I got grown and was like, all right, I can have a conversation with them.
Yes.
But when was the first time that you heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
The first time I learned of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I was very young. I was a very little girl. I was probably 4, 5, or 6. We lived in the neighborhood less than a mile away from the Salam restaurant that was right there on 83rd and Cottage Grove, and your supermarket, which was right across the street.
Okay.
My mother, who was not a driver, frequented the stores and the restaurant and the establishments of the Muslims that were in the Chicago Chatham community. So that is the first time I ever learned anything about the Muslims and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We received Muhammad Speaks newspaper, and my mother also purchased fish from the brothers. So at that time, no one in my family was a registered Muslim, yet we had great respect for the Muslims. They made the community that we lived in a decent and safe place to live. Yes, sir. And it was something that I wouldn't have been able to verbalize it as that way at that time. But when I reflect back, I can absolutely see that in my upbringing as a child. My brother is none other than Brother Student Minister Abdullah Muhammad of the Prison Reform Ministry. And as everyone who is a registered Muslim, or many know, he did serve some time. When he came home, he had been reformed by the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was a different person. And he came home and he actually put me out of my bedroom, and I had to go back to sharing a bedroom with my sister. And we reveled in his being home. My younger sibling and I, we were just so happy for him to be home. He had us drilling. He stopped us from eating pork. There were 3 albums that he played. Heed the Call, Y'all, Let Us Unite, and Master Blaster by Stevie Wonder. So my first hearing anything of the teachings was through the music of the minister. And then we would actually be taken along with my mother to the meetings when my brother would invite my mom to come out. If my mom went out, the likelihood was very strong that we were going to be in tow with her. So I'd been sitting in the audience since, I would say, about 1981, listening to the lectures. I was then greeted one day while I was in high school by some of my friends. I have a little piece of artifact here. I'll hold it up to the screen. I'll somehow get these posted up so people can see them. But this is actually a program. I attended Percy L. Julian High School here in the city of Chicago. And the date of this is February 5th, 1982. But when you open it and you look, the speaker for this actual event, it says address Louis Farrakhan. Now, what happened that day, once my my English class, I think English classes were chosen. My English class was not chosen for that period to hear this orator, the speaker. However, I had friends who knew my brother. So they came running up to me in the hall, and what they were mesmerized by were the brothers sitting in front rostrum posts. So they were like, I saw your brother. He didn't move. They didn't flinch. They didn't blink. Do they breathe? You know? So they were mesmerized by the FOI. Later, my brother gave me, probably about 1983, because the copyright on this flag of Islam is 1983. My brother gave me this book. I read it. It was a very easy read, and I thought it was important, so I kept it. And so this is the very first flag of Islam that I ever received. And I think that it was a seed that was dropped on me by my brother. And I found myself at Tuskegee University after high school. And my brother was working at the Final Call at that time. And he was sending me various lectures all the time. And newspapers. I was just getting bombarded, so much so that, you know, my fellow dorm mates would be a little bit jealous of me because I was always getting mail. You know, we didn't have, of course, social media like you have. So our contact with our family was either by phone or mail, but you really kind of coveted getting mail, going to your box and actually having somebody send you something. So, you know, to go to your mailbox and you got something in there, and I always had something because my brother was sending me something. He sent me a tape, and I must have gotten it early February, because the lecture was January 26, 1986. January 26, 1986 is one day after my 18th birthday. And he sent this tape to me, The Sons of God and Daughters of Men. But all along, I have been reading everything he's sending me. I'm reading How to Eat to Live. I'm reading Message to the Black Man. I have read The Flag of Islam. I'm reading articles in the Final Call newspaper, and I know who the minister is. You know, I have this song in my head. I have Let Us Unite. I know all the lyrics to the song. You know, I know all of the lyrics to Heed the Call, y'all. I know this music. And I am walking along with this and expanding my knowledge of the world now as a young person, separated from my family, and beginning to make decisions on my own. So I had already started kind of having an existential crisis because I did grow up in a church, and I was questioning things that I was not getting answers to. But those answers that I was looking for started coming through my reading of Message to the Black Man, my hearing the minister's lectures. But this one lecture, The Sons of God and the Daughters of Men, this one is like dynamite. You know, it happened on the very Sunday that the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl. And it was like Super Sunday. That's what they kept saying through the lecture as they were bringing the minister on. And so the brother, his name, who was the radio announcer, he would always bring on the lectures. His name was Benny Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with him. He brings on the minister, and he takes a play on words of the song, the Super Bowl Shuffle. And he's like, we're not here to start no trouble. We just tired of doing the Negro shuffle. And, you know, he comes on, he brings the minister on, and the minister lights it up. He breaks down the origin of man, the origin of Black man, the origin of the Caucasian. And this lecture is just straight fire. I'm sitting there in my room, listening on my double deck boom box, you know. And I think I had people in the room with me, but I can't even remember because people would come in because they knew I got a tape and listen with me. I can't even remember anyone else in the room with me. I just felt like I was transported to sitting really back in the final call because I knew what the final call looked like. I knew what the minister looked like. And I felt like I was sitting right there looking at him and he lecturing to me. And I made up my mind that day. So now I'm 18 years old. So I call home and I'm like, hey, Mom, how you doing? I'm joining the Nation of Islam and there's nothing that you can do to stop me because I'm grown. And so she says, well, okay, you know, that's your choice. And she never, you know, attempted to stop me. I know some people who have a different story, but my brother was there and now I was here in the Nation of Islam. And I went home. And through that summer, that was the summer that, if I'm not mistaken, the minister traveled to Libya against the warning that America had given. So he was out of the country and returned during that time. And I was there in orientation class. So my first orientation teacher was Sister Jamila Muhammad, who, or her pronunciation is more Jamila Muhammad, who works at the palace. And then Sister Aisha moved or relocated from Newark and came in and became my orientation teacher. And she is the person that I recited to. So I actually don't have the date and time written down, you know, and so I feel kind of bad because I don't know the exact date, but it was somewhere in July, early August, but I'm thinking it was more July 1986 that I recited and I received my X. I came in and I wasn't playing. I came home, I wrote my letter, you know, I was talking to a couple of one sister who knew me at that time, Sister Gwen, who she was in the Alabama mosque at one time, but she said, I came in and I worked so hard, but everyone worked hard. Everyone was on all hands on deck. It was whatever you could do. If you had a talent, it was going to be utilized. And I was working and I was in orientation, you know. I was just, you know, I was at the final call building. So it's like, you need someone to answer the phones, I can answer the phones. You need someone to type, you can type, I can type, you know. And so, you know, whatever needed to be done. Oh, somebody needs to clean up in the bathroom, I can clean up in the bathroom. You did whatever needed to be done. And that is how it all began for me in the Nation of Islam. I went back to school. I had entree into the Student Government Association. So I started working and I did not see myself as a minister. I did not see myself as the greatest orator. I could speak, but it was not something that I was really adamant about. I had no passion or drive to try to do. So I always tried to support whoever was in that capacity. And I asked our dear brother, Khalid Muhammad, to come and speak at Tuskegee. And he came and he spoke September 17th, 1986. So there's a little flyer that's from that time. And he came and he spoke. He spoke at the chapel at Tuskegee University. And then I asked the minister to come. I finally got an opportunity to get to him because the minister was rocking and rolling. He was still traveling a lot. It was like, I was not there all the time because I was between Chicago and Tuskegee, Alabama. So there would be times that I would not see him, not be in his presence. And I literally did not venture a lot to the third floor, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's where his office was in the final call. I think it was the third floor, all the way up at the top on the that would be the east side of the building. I just, I wasn't trying to go up there and disturb him. I still saw myself very much like a child to him. He was very important, and I wasn't trying to step in his path for any reason at all, you know. So I found my way to him, and I got a chance to walk into the office and ask him to come to Tuskegee to speak. I can only remember again just being absolutely nervous. I think I probably stumbled over every word in my request. And he said yes, he would come. From there, we started working with the Student Government Association, Sister Minister Ava, and we got the minister down there. But the day that he was to arrive, I received a phone call, and the phone call came into another dorm, and two people came running to my dorm room like at 6 a.m., banging on my door, like, you have a phone call. I had a phone call over in Douglas Hall, and I was in Whitehall. And Douglas Hall was like maybe two dorms away. It was easy to get, relatively easy to get to. So I ran from that dorm to the call in Douglas Hall to find Sister Minister Ava on the phone saying that the minister's airline tickets were not at the airport. Mm. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And so, you know, we that got resolved. The minister got into Tuskegee and he spoke. It wasn't an easy thing to bring him to the campus. There were two registered Muslims at that time, myself and a brother whose name is Ivet Muhammad, out of the Washington, D.C. mosque. I have lost track of him. I have not been able to get in touch with him for decades now. But he and I were the two registered Muslim students. And there was one other brother who was processing, who is Michael BX Muhammad, who is the Sabanim of Cookstown, Chicago. He was the other person. And there were a few other people who were not on campus, like Brother Michael D. Muhammad, who's a student minister. He was there as well, doing some work in the background. So there weren't very many of us, and we were not popular. This was a controversial time. This was still very much close to the whole Jesse time, the whole Jewish gutter religion, which is a lie time. And so people were looking at this, and even Black people looking at us as being militant students. One thing that happened with bringing the minister, although Brother Khalid had spoke in the chapel just in 1986, when it's time for the minister to come in 1988, we are being denied the privilege of using the chapel. So at that time, Tuskegee University was building and completing a large auditorium and gym called the Chappie James Center. So the powers that be were borrowing us from the chapel. So I was skilled enough to be able to say, well, the chapel is too small anyway. Mm. So we need the new Chappie James Center. Mm. And once that they had already put on the table that they were denying us the chapel, they could not now deny us the Chappie James Center. And I don't think that they ever thought that anyone would say around the table. They just thought that we were going to be thwarted because the chapel was the major place that all speakers would come at that time. And so Minister Farrakhan is one of the first, if not the first speakers to speak in Tuskegee at the General Chappie James Center.
Yes,
ma'am. Yes. So there were some times where I had some mixed feelings and controversy, and I was joking even with myself. I said, I'm just going to say that I was the runaway Muslim. So I'd get my feelings hurt a little bit, and then I'd run away. And so one of those times I did that, the minister happened to come down to Tuskegee. Khalid is now a student. And so I'm an RA, and I look at my student roster and I see the name and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know she was coming to Tuskegee. And they put her in the dorm with me, of course. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, I know that the minister is going to come. I can't be here when the parents come. So I'm like, you got to switch with me. I'm telling this to my mate who is working with me. So she switches with me. And at that point, I wasn't very skilled and very knowledgeable in thinking. I wasn't thinking strategically at all. The minister is not coming when everybody else comes. So the minister actually comes on the day that I'm on schedule. So here I am walking around. I got on some little Tuskegee shorts and some Reeboks. And I see the minister and I'm like, oh God. So like, I go to him and I talk to him. I give him the greetings and I ask him if I could have a moment of his time. And he is his humble and generous self. And he gives me a moment of his time. And I tell him my travails and how I don't think I'm going to come back. And he says to me, you'll come back. You'll return. And I'm like, did he hear me? I'm not. And so I went about my way. And a year or two later, I was back. I finished my undergrad degree. And then I found myself working at Mosque Mariam. And I spent about a year working with student minister Ishmael as his assistant. I then moved on from there. And that's when I met you and your siblings at Muhammad University of Islam. I was hired in by Sister Eugenie Muhammad. It is one of the places, it's probably the only thing that I ever wanted to really do. I was on we had committees at the final call prior to I'm sorry, I'm getting lost for a word. Recapture is not what I want to say, but having the properties back under the minister, there were committees for almost everything that we saw ourselves being able to do. So there was an education committee, and I was on that committee. And so the only thing that I had ever really thought of doing was something with the school. At one point, I thought that I would be a school psychologist, and that did not pan out. I did not find myself wanting to go down some of the theoretical roads and some of the practice road. Once I worked for a psychologist, I didn't like it. And so I did find myself in the classroom. It's probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever done to this date in my life. To be a teacher at Muhammad University of Islam. I've recently had another small stint where I was a teacher. I am not a fully certified teacher in the state of Illinois. So there are only certain types of schools that I can teach in. I am a fully certified instructional designer and educator for adults. So I have worked developing training for adults. I've worked for one of the oldest parent member owned and run organizations in America. And I was the director of training for that organization. So I have a strong background in education theory and practice. I'm also completing a dissertation right now in education and instructional technology on the Tuskegee Movable School. So I'm always in the education sector, but being a teacher at Muhammad University of Islam, it was just a magical time. So it was kind of funny hearing you say, you always say like, here comes Sister Audra, because I know that, it's like I have a love-hate relationship with some students. They're like, here comes Sister Audra, because no, I was not playing with you all. No, I wasn't.
Okay, but Sister Audra, I got to stop you just for 5 seconds because I wanted to show you all the love that you receiving in the comments. People saying praise be to Allah. Beautifully. Your big brother, Brother Dwayne from Phoenix says, okay, tell her she needs a duty. She needs rostrum duty at my number 2. You speak so well. Shout out, my sister Naomi went to Tuskegee as well. She said, shout out to Tuskegee. Then Mimi says, you made a true and forever impact on your students at MUI. You are loved and appreciated. Praise be to Allah. I'm hoping that one day that Mimi, maybe it's your birthday or something, Mimi can come on and do a tribute to you, because she talks about you all the time. I mean, it's just like, Sister Audra said this, Sister Audra said that. Praise be to Allah. Yes, that's what I say.
Yes, I was so very serious about what I was doing, the undertaking to take the believers' children under your wing, to guide and direct them, to give them the core basis for what is going to be their lives and then our lives. You are our future. And so many of you were final call babies. You were the first babies in the preschool when the minister reopened the school. You had a role too, and it was important that your young education was thorough. And so I did not take it lightly. And I wanted you to be the best of whatever it is that you could become. So when I saw children, I would see talents in each of them. Every child was not the same, yet every child was important. So I did not make importance between children. I didn't do that. And yes, my nieces were in my classroom.
Yes, ma'am.
And I did not show them any special favor. The work was the work, do the work. Sister Mimi was the Supreme Captain's daughter. The work is the work, do the work.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And the tutelage that I received from Sister Eugenie and the stories that she would tell us of the days and the times that she worked under the messenger, I took them to heart and I took them seriously. When the minister would come, and he frequently came to Muhammad University of Islam and spoke to the teachers, one of the things that he told us was that any failure of any child was ours, the teacher. So I wasn't about failing, and I wasn't going to have my students failing. I wanted everyone to be on par. I wanted everyone to discover their gifts and their talents. And I did not want to be found lacking. I didn't want to be found weighing in the balance. I didn't want anyone to say I wasn't doing my job, because I took that seriously, that Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan would deal with me accordingly.
Yes, ma'am.
So
yes,
if I was going to fall down on something, it wasn't going to be because I didn't do what I was supposed to do for a child who was placed in my care. Yes, sir.
Oh, praises due to Allah. Yes, ma'am. And so many people showing you love, and I can't wait to put this on YouTube. Some people showing love on Facebook. And Sister Mimi says Sister Audra gave demerits. Sister Audra being very serious about her job. Yes, ma'am. Now I want to go back to your brother.
Yes.
Now, what was it like having a brother like, student minister Abdullah, being, strong statured, intimidating. What was that like, having him as a brother in the nation?
Well, my relationship with my brother is like, I remember my brother putting me on his shoulders and walking down the street with me. My brother and I, we have a significant age difference. So he didn't spend all of his life growing up with me, because by the time I was born, he was a grown-up. And so the small times that he would have entrance into my life, they were like magical. We were mesmerized by him, one, because of his stature and his height. I don't know why I'm so short, because he's so tall. It's like, what happened? Why didn't I get a little bit of height on this side? But as a child, you're looking up at this towering individual who is full of charisma and joy and humor. And so that is the way I see my brother first. The next way I see my brother is, now I look at it and I just see him as a dedicated, truly, he is Abdullah Muhammad. He is the servant of Allah. One of the things that I used to do when he worked at the house on Damon prior to the final call is he would hold posts sometimes at night, and I would make him a salad and put coffee in a thermos for him. And so it's just little things like that. I can say this: when my brother and my sister-in-law married, the Muslims came to our home. I just got all these little pieces of paper. I'm a pack rat. I shouldn't have all this stuff, but I still have a cake bag from when they got married. And this is April 17th, 1982. I'm glad I have it because I can give the dates. April 17th, 1982. Muslims came to my mother and my father's home, where my sister-in-law, Cosetta, and my brother were married. The assembly of the Muslims was like no assemblage I had ever seen. They came, everyone was suited, the sisters were dressed. It was a wonderful gathering and affair. No one was drinking or smoking, no profane words. It wasn't a lot of raucous behavior. And it was just full of joy and love. And Sister Dolores Ali made the best carrot cake I ever had in all of my life for their wedding cake. I'm telling you, people still talk about that cake. It was like this phenomenal thing. Brother Minister Akbar, Brother Gerald, in the ceremony, it was just beautiful. It was wonderful. And the believers were just exceptional. And Mother Khadija Farrakhan came to the wedding. And I believe that Khalid was there, but I know that Abnar was there because he was drilling on our back patio. And when I see, and this is how I remember him, as this young boy, we all had to be anywhere between, I guess, 10 and 13. And he's there and he has on a little blue suit. And I mean, he's fire, cutting up, drilling, And so drill is something that I always was fascinated by. I knew, but I was never part of any of the drill squads. I was never on a drill team. Although I do have to say that my brothers and my sisters were champions at Savior's Day. I can't even remember what year that was. That had to be 1995 or 96. I know that I chose a young brother to be the DI. Brother Martell. He's Sister Mizani's son. And he was not the person that anyone would think would be the DI, but I saw something in him. And I pulled him out and I said, I want you to call. This is how you call. And because Abdullah had taught me how to drill, I said, this is how you call. And I took him aside and I would coach him and teach him how to call. And so then he got out there and he did it and they won. And they were just, little brothers with their little blue pants, their white shirts and their little white bow ties, but they were crack. They were crack. They were dynamic. And our classroom was wonderful. I just loved it. One thing that I will also share about our classroom is our classroom became almost like a little menagerie. I don't know if you remember that. We had a rabbit, we had fish. One time we had a turtle, we had a tarantula.
Okay.
The only thing that we didn't have is a bird or something like that. But these animals would come to school. The only thing that I had in the classroom was a tank with fish. But then the other animals crept in as so-called show and tell. They would show up and never leave. Yes.
Okay, so boom. So as some people showing you love, Dr. Jennifer Muhammad from Chicago, who lives in Phoenix now, says yes. She said her big brother was your big brother was her husband's best man.
Yes.
And he has nothing but love for both of you. Also, you mentioned earlier, Sister Aisha and Sister Jamila, both of whom have been interviewed on people's podcasts. So everybody go back so we can get all the Chicago connections with all these great stories.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about Dr. Khalid. What was it like when he came to Tuskegee, and what was he like, to be around him?
Again, I saw myself to these adults as still being very much a child. So I was very, very humble in my exchanges with them. He was serious, sharp, and of course, he lit up Tuskegee. I can remember one of the things that he said, and he said this several times, but he was talking about us as Black people not having anything, and we couldn't, if the white man told us that we couldn't wipe ourselves, we wouldn't be able to because we didn't even produce tissue. And people kind of held on to that. That was like one of the points that I can remember people talking about on campus. But he was dynamic. I do remember many lectures from him also at the final call, lectures from him, lectures from our dear beloved brother, student minister Abdullah. May Allah be pleased with him. Mother Tainetta, may Allah be pleased with her. And brother minister Akbar and sister minister Ava. During that time that the minister was traveling a lot, they were on the rostrum at the final call. And I'm telling you, the education, the illumination that we were able to receive during that time was like no other time. I feel nothing but grace and mercy to have come into the Nation of Islam at the time that I did. Again, the time was just phenomenal. One thing that I didn't talk about was power products. I came at a time where the power products were launched, and I briefly worked, and this was the first paid position or charity position that I received. And when I worked with Brother Wahid.
Okay.
And I typed. So I laid out some price lists for the binders that were being produced for the brothers and sisters who were selling power products. And I sold power products out of my dorm room. I sure did. I had that phenomenal lotion and that deodorant. I definitely remember selling quite a bit of that. I also worked at the Power Building. It was the Power Building. I believe that's what we were calling it, across the street from the Final Call. We sold Blue Seas Whiting. So we would make phone calls, and we would make calls and offer the fish over the phone, and people would purchase or arrange for a purchase, and we would take that information and give it to a brother, and a brother would go and make a delivery. And so there were lots of times that I was on the phone making phone calls to invite people to the mosque, phone calls to make purchases of goods and services. That was just the way of doing things in those days.
All praises to Allah. Yes, ma'am. We have a few more questions for you,
Sure.
Sis Audra, but I want to make sure that I thank you on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast for your sacrifice and the sacrifices of your family. For we are standing on the shoulders for the work that you all put in. So we definitely respect you all and give you all a lot of credit. Sister Miriam says, thank you for this history. Thank you, Sister Mimi, for being in the comments. We have a quick 60-second commercial break. For all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast this month, I want to thank everyone who's been consistent with us. All of these, we have some anonymous donations. Shout out to you all as well. If you would like to be a sponsor or donor of the People's Podcast, please cash out the People's Podcast. We greatly appreciate it. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Thank you very much. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, both of which are available on Amazon. My sister Naima, Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country and right here in the studio in Atlanta, Georgia. We love our tiny dancers. Rod Communications, if you're working on a book and you need copy editing, project management, content development, or media relations, please reach out to Rod Communications. Also, Fashion Guides, urban streetwear for young men and boys, 314-329-6009. Also, Student Minister Robert L. Muhammad out of Austin, Texas, conflict mediation, squashing the beef in the community. He does a phenomenal job. His wife, Sister Fudia Muhammad, children of the Most High, giving birth to giving birth to a God in the science of child rearing. Also, Asiatic Minds Online, Sister Sherry. They teach STEM to young kings and queens virtually all across the country. AsiaticMinds.com. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the country. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry Circuit Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 disinfecting cleaning services out of Chicago. My father's book, The Soldier Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Right back to our wonderful guest, Sister Audra. Okay, here we go. Boom. Okay, now, Sister Audra, my next question for you was, the minister comes to your school. It's an intense time, like you said, Libya. I guess that's when my big sister would always talk about my dad being overseas while she was born. I guess, like not being there because he was dealing with Libya and all of that kind of things when she was at the hospital. Have you ever faced fear? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
Yes, of course. I have faced fear. I have faced illness, having a crisis of faith. I'm grateful for people who prayed for me when I couldn't pray for myself. I'm grateful for the ability to and the gift to not fall too far away from Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. All praise is due forever. I have had, there were times I think that I was probably so naive at times that the fear couldn't even take hold. Or I was so inspired that fear couldn't take hold. So at the time when I was asking for the minister or Brother Khalid to come, it was probably being naive and so passionate that I couldn't understand, why couldn't you see this? It's like, you got to be crazy that you can't see that this is a man of God.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you see what I see? It's like, do you hear what I hear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I so I think that at that point, I probably just would push it down or fight it away. I think that fear is always something that anyone can experience, but I would probably push it down and fight it away. Right before we came on, you were saying that you did see me in this security mind. You just saw me as this teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
But yes, I was a lieutenant. And one of the places that I had the opportunity to work with your mother was on check posts. That was her post, first line of defense. And that's generally where I would be. I would be on check posts. So if you look at videos and things like that, the likelihood is that you are not going to see me because I'm on check posts. I am moving about, taking care of business. If I'm not on check posts, I'm working secretarial posts, because I'm in the background and I'm working. And, but my thought was always to protect. My thought was always that if I had to get down, I had to get down. I was a little bit of a tomboy at a time. So, I think that there have been some people who have seen that side of me and they would rather have not seen that side of me.
Yes, ma'am.
Not because, I was going to take them down and take them out, but because they knew that I was going to at least be a contender.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And
yes,
so, I can't say that I am, the heavyweight champion, welterweight, I can't say any of that. But if you're going to come with the battle and the battle is worth fighting, I'm going to stand my ground.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so knowing that, in those early days, there were lots of threats. And if you ever answered the phones, oh my God, some of the things that people would say, some of the things that I have heard, threats, and I'm like, you got to be crazy. You can come here if you want to, but you're not going to want to deal with what's going to show up on you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, of course, that's not the way you answer the phone, but that is the thought that you have in your mind. So, I just, with fear, it's absolutely imperative to have a prayer life. It is absolutely imperative to be able to humble yourself and moderate and correct your thinking. You fear nothing and no one save Allah. And so I probably am mostly coming from that position at most time. That does not mean that I don't have some trepidation, that I don't take into consideration that I should not do certain things. I'm not a daredevil. But I generally don't keep myself in a place of fear and trepidation. I pray myself through it. I get through it. That doesn't mean that I'm not saddened. It doesn't mean that I'm not hurt at times, because I have been. And, if it's a thing of a person, that person is occupying the same amount of space that you're occupying on this planet Earth. The same gravity that's keeping them on the planet is keeping you on the planet. The same oxygen that you are being supplied with, that's helping them to be able to breathe, is the same oxygen that you have. They have. We are not that much different in those ways. So I truly believe in Allah. And so I think that that is what probably makes me look crazy to some people. I've just recently had a circumstance where I know that this person was attempting to intimidate me, to the point where they had the power to remove my livelihood, my financial livelihood, but they can't remove my life. That's not, you don't get that. So you take that. I don't care nothing about that, because if Allah keeps giving me breath, then that means that there's abundance in his universe, and I can get back whatever you thought you were taking away. And usually when you lose something, a believer can regain something even greater.
Beautiful. All praises due to Allah. And so many people showing you love, Sis Audra. And thank you for your great responses and your transparency. My next question for you is: you spoke of my mom's and you are holding check posts. What? I wish I could ask my moms. The same thing. I'm sure my sisters did. What's going through your mind? You know what I'm saying? It's the 80s and 90s. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just like, it don't matter. Sisters come through with these. Y'all weren't worried about terrorist bombs or knives or get your hand out of my pocket scenarios. Y'all weren't worried about any of that. Y'all just on check posts like it's whatever.
We trained.
Okay.
And since we trained for various scenarios, we knew that there were certain things that would come to pass. And because we trained, we were prepared to some great extent. And again, for a sister like your mother, she was imbued with spirit. Your mother loved the minister. She loved the teaching. She loved the messenger. She loved Master Farad Muhammad, and it just exuded from her.
Praise be to Allah.
So there was nothing that she was going to face where she wasn't facing it with them with her. And so if you were with her, then you better get on that.
Yes, ma'am.
You better get on that. I would like to impart this as well. Your mom, she wrote one of the first and compiled, I should say, one of the first books of femininity. And again, I was pulled in to type.
Okay.
She had all of these notes because it used to be in the olden days, you would have a binder. Every sister had to have a binder like this. And we had MGT binders. We didn't have some of the wonderful books that our beautiful sister Captain Naima now has for us. We collected lessons, articles, information, and we put it into our MGT binder. She took information that she had from the various people from whom she had been taught how to be the soldier and the MGT and GCC, the mother, the wife, the friend, and helped to place it into that book. And we stayed up in the MGT office one night, I think nearly all night long. I did not drive. And when I say all night, we were out way past curfew. Your mom was such a soldier. She drove me all the way home because I did not drive at that time, and then drove all the way to the northwest suburbs where you all lived.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was just that type of person. She wanted to have the book ready for the sisters. And at that time, Kinko's was up and running. So we ran that book over to Kinko's. We got that book printed out and had it ready for that next day to go forward so that the sisters could get it in their hands. It was just that type of dedication, and the dedication was predicated by love.
All praises to Allah. And Sister Kimberly Taylor Muhammad says facts. That's name, so praise to Allah. And then Mimi says yes, indeed, all praise to Allah. Thank everybody for continuing to like, share, subscribe. Now, Sister Audra, what the thing that you just took out, is that what Abraham Lincoln and them used to use? Or like Thomas Jefferson? Like, what exactly is that you all were? This like, what's going on right now? Like, what's going on with this?
All right, you got jokes, brother. You got jokes. This is a binder.
Okay.
I think this is like a 4 or 5 inch binder.
Okay.
And on the inside, we would literally get what were known as sheet protectors.
Okay.
And we would place our information into this binder. So I have, like, my sheet protector with my MVP and GCC creed.
Yes, ma'am.
My photocopy of general orders. This is how we received our lessons, and this is something that I was able to keep. I literally have a lyrics sheet for the MGT song here. So some of these little sheets of paper, they date back to the summer of 1986. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir. And some of them date back to the 90s, but some of them are definitely from 1986 and forward. I have pages from prayer that were given to me. My prayer instructor, and I have to say this, I'm going to give a shout out. My prayer instructor, my first person who taught me prayer was Sister Ruby Muhammad.
Hey.
The mother of Sister Rhea Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
Today I'm wearing jewelry from the Ruby Muhammad collection.
Hey, beautiful.
Yes. So, this book just had a whole lot of things in it. And so, like I was saying, this is my letter this is from Sister Maria Muhammad, who was the processing secretary. And this letter says that my letter passes the laborers for June 16th, 1986. Yeah.
All praises to Allah. That's the summer of my older sister Miriam's birth in 1986. Yep. Shout out to Mimi for that. Naomi says, thank you for sharing this beautiful history. Mimi says, bye. Sister Audra, don't let Josh troll you. He's familiar. He's seen Mother Claire's history books or something like that. But Sister Rabia says, her mom has her binder. Praise be to Allah for all of the history of the mighty MGT and GCC and the nation of Islam. Yeah. Now, Sister Audra, now when I met you, but when I got a chance to speak with you at the Swan Song, you were smiling from ear to ear. I can see it under the mask, through the mask, and around. And you pointed out that you have a husband.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. What was it about him that made you choose, that made you be like, I want to marry him, or he wants to marry you? What was it about?
Oh, my goodness. What was it about? He has a brilliant and wonderful heart. We actually met because I was at an ER here in Chicago, and he walked into the ER. He is a walking miracle. I tell him that all the time. I have two miracles in my life, my younger sister and he. My younger sister is a lung transplant recipient, and he is a liver transplant recipient.
Beautiful.
And but he was just inspirational and encouraging. He has just a wonderful style of oration. He speaks so wonderfully.
Yes, ma'am.
He's intelligent. He's an FOI. He's a good brother.
All praise due to Allah. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I'm just saying, you can't even hide yourself. You blushing still. You still blushing to this day. Okay, that's amazing. That's a good thing. What type of music do you listen to, ma'am?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. I am a novice musician. And probably I sang when I was in Tuskegee. I was in the choir.
Okay.
I remained in the choir even when I became registered. In high school, I was in the band. So I've had a strong appreciation of music. As I said, the minister's music is the first time I really heard him. And the first time I received any teaching from him was through the music. So music has just played a large role in my life. I played the flute. I sang. I was in the choir when I was in the church.
Okay.
And I love everything from classic. I like some country. I like some rock. I like some hip hop.
Okay.
So if I think about the music that I just listened to most recently, I was listening to some reggae. So I think that the last thing that I listened to was Damian Marley.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I have to say that some of the newer music that I'm hearing, I call it more of sound and noise.
That way, yes, ma'am.
Because technically some of it is really not on a music scale. It's not music. It's really sound. It it lacks a melody. Some of it lacks a harmony. And what they're doing with everyone being auto-tuned is like just a deprivation of talent and music. And there's so many talented musicians out there that we are not hearing because the industry has a methodology to making money and not providing us with the true pure sound of music. You know, it used to be a time where a family or families got together in their home and were musical together. It was a way of entertaining ourselves.
Okay.
You know, so you have a lot of strong families in the church, for instance, in the Black church, who had access to music. The Clark sisters, for one, who I love, their mother, a musician par excellence. So she sits them down around the piano and she says, I'm gonna condition this voice. You're gonna sing soprano, you're gonna sing alto, you're gonna sing, and she can hear it. You know, there are people who can hear you speaking and can pull out of you and say, this is your voice. This is where you need to sing. And that's what was done with me when I entered into the choirs. It's like, you're an alto and you need to sing right here. This is where you sing. And so that's where I sang. But I love music and I would love to see more pure music, more musicality, less producing return to the music, to the airwaves. I would really love that.
Okay, yes, ma'am. And Sis Audra, you're getting so much love. Now, Sis Audra, now what do you say to the people who they do auto tune because they don't sound like me? When I went to MUI, I would walk up and down the hallways, and people would say he sounds like Donny Hathaway, he sounds like Teddy Pendergrass, he sounds like Jackie Wilson and Sam Cooke, but everybody else don't got the voice like that. So what should they do if they don't, have that voice? What should they do?
They should let the people who have pure voices, they should be the singers. If you have to be auto-tuned, let someone who does not need to be auto-tuned sing, because they have the natural pure voice.
Yes, ma'am.
Or learn to sing in your range, in your register. That would probably be what would be best. You know, if you are a singer, let's say you are singer Aretha Franklin, and you can really sing, as some people would say, you can stand up flat foot, barefoot, and sing. Let that person sing. If your Sister Audra, who only needs to sing in the chorus, don't try to be the soloist. It's that simple. You know, it doesn't need to be about the vanity of a thing or how you look. I would rather hear your beautiful melodic voice than see your beautiful body auto-tuned.
This is great. Yes, ma'am, that makes sense.
That's my thought, but I'm just little Sister Audra sitting over here,
Yes, Sister Latasha Jatar says, thanks to the brother for making her sister so happy. Mimi says she's happy for you, Sister Audra. May Allah bless your union. And praise beautiful. And everybody who, if you all can go to my, who's followed the People's Podcast, they've heard me sing everything from Sam Cooke to Stevie Wonder to, Cole. I mean, I played like Coltrane, I guess, Sinatra, My Way, so, I mean, everybody, if you ain't got it, you know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't got it. But Sister Audrey,
yes.
I was going to say your nieces, they used to sing at MUI. You know what I'm saying? They used to sing very well. your
Yes.
sister-in-law, all of that,
Mhm.
everybody. That's
And
tight.
see, like Sister Cosetta, she just has a pure voice that lends itself to gospel, strong R&B. That's her voice. Sister Lestine
Mm-hmm.
is operatic
Mm-hmm.
and a beautiful voice. Again, Sister Audra only needs to sing in the chorus.
Of course.
I, you know,
But Sister Audra, I'm saying you keep forgetting me. Like you keep naming all these other
and
people.
brother, yes, I have to listen to you again. I do remember you singing as a child. I have not,
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't listened to some of your new stuff, but
Mm.
as a child, I would say that you should be one of the soloists. If you're
Okay.
singing,
Man, thank you. That's all I want.
you
That's all I'm saying.
definitely should be one of the soloists. I would pull you out if I had a chorus.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
would sing in a solo part. And
Wonderful.
I think I'd put you in, I don't think you're baritone. I think you're tenor.
Yeah, I think tenor, sometimes the people try to stretch me to falsetto, soprano, but I just try to keep it, where it is. Mimi
Yes,
says
sir.
Sister Cosetta sings the NGT song perfectly, and she loves her voice.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, great. Now, Sister Audra, we have two more questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Will you ever write a book on your personal life?
I actually had not thought of writing a book on my personal life.
Okay.
Once I get this dissertation out, God help me. That is a book in and of itself. So that I will probably be trying to find ways to push it through. I have another interest and love of workplace spirituality, and I've written on that as well. So there'll probably be some other things. I think that there are some greater concepts than myself that I can possibly impart. Because like I said to you, I was a bit nervous about even coming on here because, yes, I'm happy to lend to the timeline and the history, but I'm bearing witness tonight. I'm bearing witness to the things that I've seen and what I know has occurred. So I want to say that I was standing there when this happened, and this is real.
Beautiful. Yes, ma'am. What do you want your legacy to be, Sister Audra?
I have no clue. I don't know what it's going to be. That'll be up to me trying to continue to live a good life, trying to clean up from some of the bad things that I've done, because I've done some things that are not all that great. I've never killed anybody. No, I haven't. I've never done that. But when you're trying to live this life, you're trying to live the life of a Muslim, you can fall short. And there have been times where I have fallen short and I have not lived up to the promise that was given to me. So I'm still trying to make sure that I am doing just the basics of what I should do for Allah. I'm trying to make sure I make my prayers every day.
Yes, ma'am.
If they can say that they found me with faith, that would be a great legacy. I'm glad to be back in the fold and the arms of Allah and to be among the believers and to be doing the work. I'm not so much interested in what I can do. I guess there's a level of vanity that I don't have. It's just do the work. And have I helped someone? Have I done something honorable and good? Those are the things that are important to me.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. Well, and Sister Christine Crowder says praise be to Allah, sister. And some people are showing you love on Facebook. And I can't wait to put this on YouTube. Sister Audra, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on People's Podcast. May Allah continue to bless you.
Praise be to Allah.
I look forward to seeing you. I guess the next time I come to Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps we could work on some harmony and MUI or something, singing at the school or something. We'll work it out.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank everybody who's watched tonight. I can't wait to put this on YouTube once again. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you very much. Okay, we got